Hi, everybody. Bob Kiser here. Just checking in midweek. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Perfect Detours and the Authenticity series. This past weekend, I started the series with my guest, Keith Butler, author. And it was an amazing conversation, but I realized we kind of jumped into this whole topic and really didn't give us a good setup for what we're going to be exploring and why even to be looking at this thing called authenticity. So per usual, if you want to join the conversation, just use the chat feature, which is right there probably if you're watching most places, YouTube, Facebook, and I'm always interested in your comments and your thoughts, etc. But let me back up a couple of steps. And so this is Perfect Detours, the show. We've gone through some transformations in the last month. This originally was a radio show in Chicago on WGHC 98.3 FM Chicago. The station is on hiatus now. So we wanted to keep the program going. So we figured, well, why not this platform? So we're going to be broadcasting on YouTube, Facebook, and also Twitter. So I'm assuming you're watching me on one of those platforms. So welcome. What is the show about? So the overall general theme of Perfect Detours is the idea that many times in our life, we take unexpected turns or have events that happen to us. And in the moment can seem like not the best things. Like maybe we made a wrong choice or we're wondering, why did that just happen to me? But upon further exploration, we realize that those moments are actually the catalyst towards living a life beyond our wildest dreams. So as a community, we want to kind of reframe these moments to help us move forward, because I think so many times people kind of get stuck in these moments. I can't believe that happened. Or if that hadn't happened, then maybe I'd be further along, instead of saying, okay, that happened. So now how do I get further along? My background is as a coach and a mediator. So all of this stuff I love talking about. Again, if you want to join me, just join in the chat and we will get a conversation going. So the authenticity series. So doing this program, one thing I love about being the host is I get to choose the topics. And last fall and winter, we did the forgiveness series. It was 8 episodes in which we invited people from religious backgrounds, religious leanings to talk to us about what forgiveness is, and then for us to explore how can we start forgiving more in our life and why should we. So we're going to be starting the authenticity series. So with authenticity, I think the first thing we need to look at is maybe the definition and see if where that takes us to. Because I hear so much all the time about authentic leadership or being authentic in who we are. And I'll say in my life, I feel like I play so many roles that sometimes I'm not quite sure which one is the authentic me, or maybe they're all authentic me. We're going to explore that. But anyway, so let's get to some definitions. So Webster's dictionary says that the definition of authentic, which is part of authenticity, so authentic, is a worthy, I'm going to read it here so I don't mess it up, worthy of acceptance or belief, not false or imitation. It's real, actual. And the third one is true to one's own personality, spirit, or character. Okay, so true to one's personality, spirit, or character. Okay. So I guess my second question is, why aren't we authentic? It feels like that would be pretty easy to be who we are, right? It's how can it be anybody but me? And so that's my first question for this evening's conversation. And I want you to join in. So please give me your thoughts. But I want to think of why aren't we authentic? What could possibly keep us from being authentic? So the first thing I'm going to put out there for conversation is this idea of maybe having negative past experiences when being honest, open, and vulnerable. I can completely relate to this. As a gay male, the first time I expressed that I thought another man was even halfway good looking, I was met with ridicule, and immediately I went, aha, check. This part of me I can't let this out because it's not going to be accepted, period. As an actor, as a singer, letting people know that I want to be doing this, people would offer their judgments and offer their thoughts on my abilities and what I thought I could do, etc. So quickly I learned that I had to be really careful, that I could be judged for it. And God forbid if I don't have any talent, and God forbid if I'm not doing a good job, then 1,000 people will see it. So then I realized that I have to be who I think I should be in order to get the jobs, to get people to like me, etc. It's interesting. A friend of mine sent me this tweet by somebody, and I wish I would have thought about it before I got on here, but it basically said there is a culture in theater that actors are always trying to bend and mold to what directors want. And they're often very scared to tell directors kind of what they're thinking, or if directors cross their boundaries, that they feel like they can't speak up because they're afraid of being labeled hard to work with, or whatever it may be. So, so I think negative experiences with being honest and open is a huge thing. And hi, Heather. So Heather said, like about the Tiffany brings anxiety due to the shame of hiding. I agree. And as you said, lack of authenticity. Thank you, Heather. I completely agree with that. So negative past experiences, I think, with all of this stuff, but the one that popped out to me is vulnerability. So negative experiences with being vulnerable. And I think vulnerability and authenticity go hand in hand. And if we're afraid of being vulnerable, which means showing our true selves, then I'm not even sure if it's possible to be authentic. So I think that there's a whole piece in there about when we are vulnerable to people, when we show, maybe our true feelings about something, or we're not perfect. I shared in Saturday's show that I have this thing that I have to be perfect. I feel like in order to be accepted, I need to be perfect. Half the time, I don't even know what that perfection is, but I know I have to get it to be accepted. So I think in that the vulnerability of not being perfect, that if we're not in places that are safe to express that, then pretty soon we shut down. And we've learned that we only can show those parts that are calculated and that we view as close to perfect as we can get. And it's interesting too, I think as a kid, I used to love to make believe and play and stuff like that. And then as I got older, I stopped doing that. I think because of the vulnerability of make believe, and also then people's reflections back to me of their views, their things like that. So it just kind of popped in my head. But then that kind of leads us into the next one, which is a deterrent for authenticity, is the fear of taking risks to build trust with others. So we have to be okay with risking vulnerability with others. And if our definition of ourselves, our experience of ourselves is that we must have others like us in order to be okay, then it makes it kind of impossible for that risk. That risk is too much for us to do. I think also that there is calculated risks. That it's interesting. I watch people who are like, okay, so I'm going to be vulnerable, and then they go out there and they give themselves to the whole community, and maybe people who aren't ready to have the honor of holding someone's vulnerability. So I think that in this is the fear of taking risks to build trust with others, but then also knowing who we can show ourselves to until we get used to it, until we get okay with if someone accepts me or not. I don't care. But when we're starting to work on vulnerability and authenticity, I think we have to have a tribe that knows what we're working on and also supports us in that. The next thing is that keeps us from authenticity, I think, is the focusing on anything other than the present moment. Because in the present moment is really acknowledging, is accepting things as they are. I think it's the authenticity of the moment. And I think many of us don't want to accept the pain of life, or even sometimes the goodness of life. Sometimes that's even too much for us to accept. So I think that we do, let me phrase it. I try to get out of the present moment. It used to be with my addiction and all that kind of stuff. And now it might be binging, TV or TikToks, which is my new thing. I'll start looking through TikToks. But I think that if we want to get to the authentic part of ourselves, that we have to start focusing on the present moment, because I think in the present moment is the only place our authenticity can truly shine. So I think the other thing that keeps it from authenticity is sometimes I feel that I need to do this alone. And it's interesting because, as I said, that tribe, we need people who are going to support us as we kind of come out of our shell. Because you know what? I've spent most of my life in roles, either as son, as boss, as a gay man, as someone acting like they're not gay, as, an actor, so many things that I have slowly over time forgotten who I am, that authentic part of me. So I need people to help me with this, who can lovingly say to me, I don't think that's your voice, Bob. I wonder whose voice that is. As my therapist would say to me several times during our sessions, those people would challenge me to say, I think you can show up more as you, and then congratulate me when I do, even when I fail or quote unquote fail. The last thing I think that gets our way of kind of reaching for authenticity is the idea that authenticity is a goal. It's something we have to go towards. Like, it's kind of like when I was in gymnastics, to do a cartwheel or to do a, right off back handspring backflip, that was the goal. And I would be working towards that. And I think with authenticity that it is not a goal. It is definitely a state of being. It's being present and accepting. And I think all of us go in flux. Sometimes we're more accepting than others, or, it's interesting that when I go home, I feel like I become almost a different person, or different thoughts are in my head. So I think authenticity is a journey. It's a state of being, really. It's a state of being. And that it's acknowledging when we're not present, getting present, and then making a commitment to stay present. So those are the things that keep us from authenticity. At least those things I think keep me from authenticity. What do you think keeps you from being authentic? Is it the judgment of others? Is it self-judgment? Is it that tape inside of you that actually, and I have this, the tape or the guards, the internal guards that want to make sure they catch any failings, any non-perfection before it gets to the outside world. So I have this voice in my head always monitoring what I do. That can keep me from authenticity. Because I think in authenticity, we let go of those guards. We just are. Either I can be listening to the guards in my head, those voices, or I can be present with whoever I'm with, or the world that I'm with. So I'm not sure what your blocks to authenticity are, but please share them. And we've got the comments going for a little bit longer. We're going to be looking at now in the future episodes with my guests, how to get more authentic with ourselves. But for this week, I'm going to invite you to just simply start noticing when you're present, when you're not present. That's it. Let's get authentic with the moment. I think that's a good place to start. Not even within me. I'm not even going to think about me, because when I think about me, I'm the bondage of self, and usually then I can't be authentic. So I'm just going to think about the moment this week and just notice, so am I present or am I not? That's it. The authenticity of presentness. And we will check back in. So this Saturday, I will not be doing the show. Tonight is actually my 2-year anniversary with my partner. And he's not here. He's on a business trip, but we're going to celebrate this weekend. So I will be off social media and with him. And so next Saturday, the following Saturday, I will be back on with a guest and be talking more about all of this. So again, we have I'll leave the chat open for 2 more seconds. If someone wants to chime in, again, what keeps you from experiencing your authenticity? Is it people? Is it, relationships? Is it institutions? Is it any constructs within, groups that you're with? Because I know that I'm in several social groups, and groups that with work and everything. And so I think I'm a little different in each group. So I think as I'm thinking about it, that might keep me from some authenticity. But whatever it is, please share it. This show, I want to be a source for all of us to grow from. So I'm just getting the conversation going, but I hope the conversation keeps going in the comments and future episodes. I truly mean it when I want your voice to be heard. I do love my voice, don't get me wrong, but I learn so much more when others are a part of the conversation, and I think everybody does. So I hope that I hope that adds a little bit to your arsenal of getting more authentic, or at least thinking about it. And I'll be back in a couple of weeks talking more about this stuff. And I look forward to future conversations. I hope you have a great night and a great couple of weeks. Bye, everybody.